Welcome to another Manhood Monday. I am your host, Clifton Brantley, and man, we got a topic for you tonight. I'm going to have some fun, right? So let me tell you what I was planning to do. So my plan, originally I was going to I was going to record this video, edit it, and then I was going to broadcast it live, and then I was going to come on after that and answer questions because I was thinking you may have questions. But what had happened was time got away from me, and so when I finished my notes, I didn't have time to then turn around and shoot the video. So I have to do this live, but it's all good. I think you still will get the points that I need to get to you, and then we can talk about it. So I do hope. Let me pull up my chat thing over here because I do hope that you guys will interact with me tonight. Right? This is the first Manhood Mondays of 2023. Call a new season, if you will. We're kicking off with sex. Right? We're talking about sex in marriage. All right. You ready to go? Let's do it. So this weekend I was joking with my wife. I was getting ready to go to an event, and I was joking with my wife about sex. By the way, this talk today is for married people, right? I know other folk who's not married, y'all watching. That's on you. Right, I'm talking to married folk. Anyway, so I was joking with my wife about sex, and I was like, because I was looking good, like I had on my shades, I was clean shaven, I was doing my thing right, and I said, babe, you gonna let me go out here in the world with like women everywhere? Like you ain't gonna hook your boy up? And we laughed about it. And so then when I left, I sent her this scripture in the Bible. And her response to the scripture, which was, she just texted me back and said, wow. But her wow then got me to thinking, she must didn't know that was in there. And so then that got me to thinking, a lot of people who are married don't know what the Bible say about sex. And why is it important to know what God says about sex? Because marriage is God's idea. So that's what made me come up with this topic that I wanted to talk about tonight for Manhood Mondays. Now, I've talked about sex before, but not in this way. So previously when I talked about sex, we were talking about pornography and like the negative side of sexual behavior. Well, tonight we're talking about the positive side. Okay. Now, this is Manhood Monday. So yes, the things I'm saying tonight are going to be biased. So just get ready for that. It's going to be biased, right? And I'll try to give y'all some sugar and soothing as much as possible. But my goal tonight is to help the fellas, right? To help the fellas. But let me tell you what kind of fellas I'm here to help, though, because I have a disclaimer. Okay, so here's my disclaimer, right? Before we talk about sex and marriage, give you these disclaimers so you'll know what I'm talking about and who I'm talking to. Number one, what I'm sharing tonight is general information. Okay, general, not specific. Not tailored to any person, definitely not, about me and my stuff. It's general information. Okay? That's important to you to know. It's important for you to know because I am not trying to give trifling husbands an excuse to abuse their wives. Right? That's not what this is. Okay? What I'm talking about, I'm talking about good husbands, and none of what I share tonight is an excuse for you not to be a good husband. Right? Some of you know why you're not connecting with your wife physically. Like some of you know you've done some stuff. And so this talk won't really help you, right? This is not for you. Okay. Here's number 2. If you are in a toxic relationship, I'm not talking to you. What is a toxic relationship? So a toxic relationship is when there are abusive things that happen on a regular basis. Or let me not say regular basis. Let me say more than once. But that's a gray area too. It's not black and white, because physical violence, you don't need to hit me one time. And yeah, we're not talking about anything intimate. Okay. But stuff like let's say you get called out of your name and it only happens one time. That's toxic behavior, but it doesn't become a toxic relationship unless that, keeps happening. So if you and I'm on this side of the camera, you're on that side. You need to govern yourselves accordingly. If you know you're in a toxic relationship, this ain't for you. All right? That's about as good as I can monitor that for you. And then number 3, I keep thinking this. So I have a new monitor in front of me, but it's an actual monitor, but it's the size of my iPad. And I keep touching the screen like it's iPad, but it's not. I should use my iPad. But anyway, what was number 3? Number 3, if you have any kind of sexual trauma of any kind, I'm not talking to you. Whether it is from your childhood, young adulthood, before your marriage, or even in your marriage. That includes cheating. If you guys are dealing with an affair, or, by the way, repeated cheating is toxic also. Repeated lying is toxic too, right? I'm not running the list of everything that's toxic, but I want to make sure I say those two. But if you guys are dealing with an affair or stuff like that, this talk is not, you need something else. This is not for you, right? This is primarily for couples who are in a relatively good space, right? Normal ups and downs of marriage, and like ain't no crazy stuff going on. But you got to be the judge of that, right? I'm just the messenger. So my goal tonight is to make this fun, but informative, right? I want to have fun, but I want this to be informative, and I really want to help you wives. Y'all might not like me after this, but it's okay. You feel free to email me. We can talk it out, and I can explain some stuff to you. But because it's Manhood Mondays, a lot of this can be applied to women too, and some of it will be. But I'm talking for the men. Just make sure I'm clear about that. All right. So now, let's talk about sex. So, sex is one of the one of the 3 most demonically active areas of the human life. Now I know I probably said demonic too soon, right? But don't click off yet. Just hang with me, right? Just hang with me. One of the 3 most active areas for demon activity. Why do I say that? Because the way sex is seen these days is completely in error and opposite to how God designed it. Right? God did not design the way we do sex these days, just as a culture, it's an abomination. It's not what God designed. So it's demonic. The other 2, food, and so you got sex, food, and then you got what's the third one? I had a brain freeze. Money. Sex, food, money. Those 3 are the 3 most prevalent areas where the enemy does his most damage to us. All 3 of those, in some form or fashion, brings life or helps us to do life well on this planet, right? So like for wealth was created for God's people. At least that's what we believe. Why? Because it's in the garden and there were no stores. Why is there gold in the garden? The first person that the Bible mentions that was rich is the father of the faith, Abraham, right? So wealth is God's idea. But here's what Satan has done. He has twisted the mind of believers to think that to be broke is godly. Like to be poor is something to be upheld. But the Bible says that a poor man's voice will not be heard. And it goes on to say several times where God will give you a reward of riches for certain things. So if God's going to give you a reward of riches, it can't be bad, right? And here's one of the benefits of wealth. Since I'm on this, let me just say this. So remember the time when someone asked Jesus, "What's the greatest commandment?" They say, "Teacher, what's the greatest commandment?" Jesus said, "To love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength." And then he said, the second one is like it, love your neighbor as yourself. And then the guy wanted to push it further. He said, "Well, okay, but who is my neighbor?" And then Jesus told a story that we call the Good Samaritan. He told a story of the Good Samaritan. Now, the story of the Good Samaritan, it's about it's about, first of all, a man, a Jewish man being beat up and he's thrown into the ditch. And then this Samaritan, who's not supposed to have anything to do with the Jewish people, he comes along and he cleans the guy up. He takes him to a hotel, puts the guy in the hotel, pays for his stay there, and then he tells the hotel owner, "Hey, take care of this guy. When I come back, if he has any other expenses, I'll take care of that too." Now, when Jesus described loving your neighbor, he did not mention the word rich or wealth, but the Samaritan in the story that he gave, he obviously was a business owner. He had money, right? And the point that I'm making is wealth is God's idea. Then you got food. Obviously, food's God's idea, but food, the enemy has tainted. You know, I'm a victim. Don't laugh at me because I'm fat, right? But food is what we use to nourish our bodies. Like if you don't eat right, your body will begin to deteriorate sooner than it's supposed to. And so you may not die early, but you cannot live the abundant life that Jesus promised when you're sick, right? So he attacks us in our food, and more specifically, our appetite. It's really our appetite. And appetite goes beyond food, but sex, appetite, and wealth. And then when it comes to sex, like I say, it's just all over the place. It's just, fancy free on the planet. And none of that is God's design. But what I want to talk about is sex in marriage because, first of all, it's the only place that God ordained sex to happen, in marriage. I know we do it how we want to. I'm just saying. It's in marriage where God has ordained. So do you realize marriage is the only place that God has ordained for life to be created? That's pretty significant to me. All right. So now, the truth is that some of you are having sex issues because here's a conviction button, a bullet coming. I apologize. But some of you are having issues with sex because you did not follow God's plan or his original intent for sex. Now, I'm not judging you because I didn't either. And what I'm talking about is all of your sex partners before you got to your spouse. See, you have experiences and memories about your sexual past that you should not have. And that stuff affects how you do sex in your marriage. And sometimes that's causing you a problem. Why? Because you didn't marry someone from your past. Every now and then we get lucky and we marry someone who, it seems like, at least, our sexual, not appetite, because I'm not talking about frequency, chemistry. Our sexual chemistry matches. But most of the times it doesn't. We got to work that thing out, right? So now, you've heard me say that love is not about you. Well, tonight I'm telling you that sex is not about you. I wonder if you knew that. Sex is not about you. One of the reasons we've messed up is because we've made sex about my pleasure as opposed to my service and my partner's pleasure. Yeah. Sex is not primarily about your pleasure. It's about ours. It's for marriage. It's for us. Right? So what that means is I should be more concerned if my wife is pleased than I am concerned about if I'm pleased, because my love goes towards her. And to be honest, I'm sure I could do a whole series on sex, because there's so many different like facets of sex. I could do a whole series on sex, right? But tonight I want to specifically talk about husbands and wives, or really I want to talk about the husbands, the good men that are husbands, and encourage you wives to open the flood. That just popped in my head. Open the floodgates, but I mean it fits. So all right. So, but I want to reiterate, I'm talking about normal situations, and I'm speaking in general, right? If you have medical issues surrounding sex, like sex is painful, I'm not talking to you. Nope, not talking to you. Okay. Now, one of the reasons that sex is viewed so skewed these days, especially in the church, is because the church has done a poor job at teaching and educating the significance and sanctity of sex. So we've heard a lot about, how bad sex is and you should stay away from it, but we haven't done a real good job at all about the glorious, wonderful things of sex, right? And so I think that's one of the big reasons why sex looks the way it does in our culture. Okay. Now, like I said, sex was created for marriage. As a matter of fact, watch this. When the Bible describes the first marriage, it does not mention love. Did you know that? But guess what it does mention? Sex. It doesn't mention it explicitly, but it's inferred. So when it says the two become one flesh, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, Adam knew his wife, like it's talking about sex. So you've heard the song. Now I only heard this song when I used to watch. What's the name of the show with Peg Bundy, with the Bundys? Married with Children. Love and marriage go together like a horse and carriage. That's not true. It should be sex and marriage, because it does. So I'm not going to stay on this long because it is controversial. I'm not avoiding it. I'll deal with it when I talk about love. But love and marriage are not intertwined like sex and marriage. They're not. See, love is the way that we live, period. Sex is specifically for marriage. I need to love you, my brother, my sister. I need to love humanity. But sex, that's just for marriage. So in your head, rewrite that song, not love and marriage, but sex and marriage. Sex is important. All right. Now, let me say this. Sex is not the most important thing in marriage, but it is important. Okay. By the way, when couples have issues in sex, when you have sex issues in your marriage, it's usually an indication of something else going on, like a deeper issue, usually a connection issue somewhere, right? You start having sex issues, and I mean like between the two, there's usually a disconnection, right? So sex issues point to something else. Listen, ladies, sex is not a reward for the husband. Okay. I forgot to mention that another reason why I want to do this is because I have had many husbands come into my office and they're saying that their wife is intentionally holding out or using sex as a weapon or using sex as manipulation. Don't do that. Okay. Sex is not a reward for the husband. When I was younger, before I was even intelligent, like young, maybe in my 20s, I used to wonder why the term was for a woman, I'm gonna give him some. Because my thought was like, ain't he giving you something too? Like we giving each other. Like, give me some. No, you give me some. Let's give each other. Right? So don't use sex as a weapon. Don't use sex as a reward for your husband. It's his right. You don't believe me? We finna go deep. Maybe not too deep. Let's go to the Bible. Amen. So here's the Bible. 1 Corinthians 7, 3 through 5. Tell you what it said. I'm going to read it for you. The husband should fulfill his wife's sexual needs. That's pretty plain. And the wife should fulfill her husband's needs, sexual needs. The wife, watch this, gives authority over her body to her husband. And the husband gives authority over his body to his wife. Do not deprive each other of sexual relations unless you both agree to refrain from sexual intimacy for a limited time so you can give yourselves more completely to prayer. Not shopping, not headaches, to prayer. And then it says, afterwards, you should come together again so that Satan won't be able to tempt you because of your lack of self-control. There's a lot in there, all right? So, in other words, do not deprive your spouse of sex. Deprive is not the same as deny. Like, it's life. Sometimes you're going to have to deny. Like, we're sometimes you have to deny your partner, right? But we're talking about deprive, okay? This word translated as deprive actually means, in the Greek, to defraud, which means to deprive by deception. So what he's saying here is this. If you're going to not have sex, don't let it be for reasons that are selfish. Don't let it be for reasons that when you're being deceitful. Don't deprive your husband. I mean, don't deprive your wife either, but this Manhood Monday, so I'm talking for don't deprive your husband, right? It's not talking about legitimate reasons. But when you're using sex as a bargaining chip or a weapon to get what you want, that's demonic. I'm telling you, I'm not just throwing that word around just to be throwing it around. I'm telling you that's demonic. Don't do that, okay? Why is it demonic? Because it is the opposite of how God designed it in the beginning. Anything that is operating opposite to God's original intent is demonic. All right? Remember when I said that sex is not about you, it's about your partner? Yeah. The essence of the text that I just read is communicating the same truth. Right? It says the wife gives authority over her body to her husband and vice versa. So when you say I do, you're supposed to give authority over your body over to your spouse. Now, let me be clear. Okay, let me be clear about this. It's not talking about authority over your body for whatever you want. Okay, you got to read the Bible in context. And so it doesn't mean you get to tell her what she can eat, what she can wear, because, that's my body. It's not your body. It's her body. Okay, it's not your body. It's his body. All right. But in the context of what this is talking about, from verse 1 all the way to 9, Paul is talking about sexual relations between a husband and wife. So this authority that he's talking about is sexually, meaning have authority, giving me authority over your body, talking about sexually. That's it. That's all. Don't be adding stuff in there. Because a lot of you guys be trying to run your wife, talking about, because that's not a part of the submission command, by the way. That's for free. That ain't in my notes. It's not part of the submission command. You need to give me sex whenever I want. That's not what this is. Okay. Uh, if you take what I'm saying and chop up my video and you get that message, you're gonna be you got to do very well, because I'm saying all throughout here that ain't my message. That's not what I'm preaching at all, right? I'm not preaching misogynist. I'm not preaching. I'm not teaching none of that stuff. I'm just saying get a brother some sex, like. But I'm coming back to that. So yeah, Paul is specifically talking about sex. Now let's look at what he said again. Let's look at what he said again. The wife gives authority over her body to her husband, and the husband to the wife. So my question is, authority for what? The authority to please. So when we got married, my wife gave me the authority to please her. I gave her the authority to please me. That means you got the power to do that. That means you have the authority to do whatever is necessary to please me, as long as it's not anti-God, right? Let's be clear about that. What is anti-God? Abuse, same-sex stuff, like you. Well, maybe you don't. I was gonna say, you know what anti-God stuff is, but some people don't. But anyway, I'm not going deep into that. But you have the authority, wife, to meet all of my sexual needs. I did not say fantasies. I mean, you got the authority to do that, but again, like, as long as it's not anti-God. Okay. So in verse 3, when it says husband should fulfill, this is interesting. When it says that the husband should fulfill his wife's sexual needs, the word translated as sexual needs is benevolence. In the Greek, it's translated as benevolence. The word is, I'm going to try to say it, eunoia. Eunoia. That's the Greek word. I said it. That's the Greek word. But it means kindness and goodwill. So in other words, it is kindness and goodwill to make love to your spouse. Kindness and goodwill. The reason we hold back is because we think sex is about us. I'm not giving you the benefit of being with me. This is mine. It's not yours if you're married, right? The reason we hold back is because we think sex is about me and what I want, right? I remember a few years ago, I had this couple was dealing with an affair. And they came in and he cheated, flat out wrong, right? But when he began to tell me the story of, like, the backstory, he said that he would often, try to talk to his wife, connect with his wife. She always shut him down. And he would try to touch her, try to be close to her, whatever. She was too busy, right? And granted, now the brother he was not well versed in handling women, right? But she could have taught him. But anyway, so he ended up cheating. And I gave this example, and I hope it connects with you. So imagine, now you gotta use your imagination in this example. So imagine you and your husband live in the house where it's warm and it's a winter storm. So imagine you get mad at him, and so you put him outside on the porch, lock the door. You're gonna be out there for a while until you think about what you did, right? Well, so he's outside on the porch in the snowstorm with no jacket, no coat. All the while, women keep coming by, offering him coats, fur coats, and boots with the fur. They got the boots with the fur, but they got the fur coat. They offering it to him, and he's like, no, I'm going back in the house. My wife has a coat. I don't want it. No, get away, block. But then eventually, because he's knocking on the door for you to let him in, and you don't let him in, he takes one of the coats. As soon as you take one of the coats, you open the door. Oh, so you just gonna wear another coat okay. Not realizing, yes, he should have had enough. He should have had enough discipline to not take the coat. But why would you put him in that position, right? Like, why would you lock him in the cold? And so in case you hadn't, in case you didn't make the translation, yes, it's your husband or wife, whoever. It's your responsibility. It's their responsibility to not cheat. But like was it Betty Wright? Betty Wright said, "Don't make it easy for the clean up woman. Like, don't make it easy." Now, my mom raised two boys, right? So she didn't raise girls. But I've heard women say that their moms told them that, girl, you don't let your man leave the house with a full sack, right? I'm not doing no exegesis on that. That's just what that is. Okay, you get it. And it ain't in the Bible, but I mean, I don't disagree with that. Right? I don't disagree with the thought. Old school moms. I'm with you, right? So, let me scroll down. So, let's talk about this. Ladies, if you have not been offended, this might be your chance. Not that I'm trying to. I promise you I'm not trying to. But this might be. So, one of the biggest issues, one of the biggest contributors to this issue of married men, qualified married men, and qualified is everybody who does not fit into the disclaimers that I gave earlier. Qualified men not getting the sex that they need. And that means the wife ain't getting it either. But here's one of the biggest contributors: romance. Yeah, romance. Oh, as a matter of fact, no, I'm not going to do it. Romance. See, the world has tricked women into believing that if it's not romantic, then it's not real. If it's not romantic, then he can't touch me. You made that up. Did you know romance did not come into human... Romance entered the scene around the 1400s. And today, women, and I say women because I'm speaking in general, women have elevated romance to the level of right and wrong. That's not good. That's not good. Why? Because number one, we don't learn romance in school, right? And when we watching movies and it's romance, like, I can't do that. Those guys, they reading scripts, right? So that's the first thing. When I show up to most adult relationships, I don't know how to be romantic. Yeah, I know how to buy flowers. I know how to buy a card. But like, the older you get, the more these women's minds get inundated with romantic ideas. Y'all watching too much Hollywood, right? And you think if the brother isn't romantic, then he don't deserve your body. You are punishing yourself and him. Don't do that. Don't do that. All right. Now, let me say, I am not anti-romance at all. I like romance. I used to think I was a certain kind of romantic until I realized my wife had another level of romance, and she was like, "I thought you was romantic," and it kind of slapped me. I'm like, "Wait, what? I am." But when she showed me what was on her paper, I was like, "I'm not." Oh wow, I didn't know. I thought, but ladies, don't let your husband's lack of romance or his inability to woo you, don't let that be a requirement. You can still desire, but don't let it be a requirement for y'all to have sexual relations. Why? Because you're making a foothold for the enemy. See, this is bigger than y'all's pleasure, right? There's an enemy of marriage, and he wants to destroy your marriage, and you're going to let him in. Don't do that. So remember when the Bible says that you give your husband authority over your body? You give him authority, not instructions. What I mean by that is, so when you say I do, you give him authority, but you don't hand him instructions also. So as you guys get to know each other, You got to teach that brother how your body works. Okay. I'm going to just let that sit there because you got to teach him how your body works, right? Or give him the freedom to explore your body and figure it out. But don't be like, he don't know how to please me. Well, what class how many classes he took to learn that? Like, what was the name of the professor? What school? Your sexual appetite is specific to you. It's only in romance movies where we meet, we get together. It's amazing the first time, and then every time after that. Because a lot of times it can be, so people mistakenly think, this is a side note, people mistakenly think like when they get with someone and the sex is great, they were meant for each other. No, not necessarily, right? I say that was a fluke. It just so happened that what he did is what you like. But y'all don't really, that's why as we go later on, it's like, man, I thought you was such and such. I thought you was such and such. Well, nah, I just was, you know what I'm saying? So don't let romance make you think he's supposed to just know and just figure, no, you have to help him, right? Give him instructions. Because here's the thing, they're your sexual needs. He got to meet them, but they're your needs. And so, like, if you don't like your toes sucked, stop letting him suck your toes and turning you off. And I don't know why that came to mind. I guess it's probably one of the safest things I could say. So we go with sucking the toes. But you got to teach him. It's your marriage, right? So you need to know where you like to be touched, where you like to be kissed, how you like to be rubbed. You need to know, you need to let him know if you like music or if you like it quiet, if you like the lights on or off, right? Learn each other. Why? Because you've given him authority to please you. Now give him the instructions so he can do it well. You feel me? All in all, here's my point. Stop withholding sex from your husband if you know he deserves it. And when I say deserves it, I really mean he hasn't disqualified himself. Because once you say I do, you deserve it. You disqualify yourself by being abusive, by being a butthole, by, being selfish, by being unloving, right? Those things will disqualify you or make you not deserving of her body. Now, biblically, you can still give him your body. Let me say this too before I end, because I don't think this is in my notes. Here's the thing. Sex can't be, wives, I'm talking to you specifically. Every time y'all have sex, it's true for him too, but I'm talking to you. It can't always be about your pleasure, right? Sometimes you may not be in the mood or you may not feel like it, but if you let him, whatever, make it a quickie or something. But now let me say something to that, because I've heard guys complain about this. Everything can't be a quickie. I know, I guess there are some men that like that, but real men, grown men, at least I think. If I'm wrong, then y'all brothers, y'all let me know. But like, I don't want a quickie every time with my wife. Like, I want to make love to I want to spend some time with my wife. You know what I'm saying? So, wives, make love to your husband, right? If he's a good man, doesn't cheat, helps around the house, works hard, give that man authority over your body, right? Make it like H-Town and y'all knock some boots. Somebody knocking the boots, right? Make it like when he get home from work. So not tonight, but tomorrow. When he get home from work, soon as he walk in, well, okay, not soon as he walk in, at some point in the night, because I know how y'all ladies are. You gotta take a bath, and I'm good with that. I'm not complaining about that. But turn off the lights. I wish I could sing. And light a candle. And then, if that won't work, I got another one for you. And so this is when I wish I could sing, so my inner Marvin can come out. Because I would say, baby, I'm hot just like an oven. I need some loving. And baby, I can't hold it much longer. I'm hot in real life. It's time for me to go see if my wife is watching this and see if she's going to turn off the lights. I hope this was helpful for y'all. I tried to make it informative but palatable, right? So you can receive it. But at the end of the day, I really am lobbying for more good husbands to get more good participation in the bedroom from the wife, right? And you know what? I think I am going to do this again, not next week necessarily, but because we need to talk about who initiates what. Like, that in and of itself has become a thing, and I really don't think it should be. That's in your mind. I initiated all these times. I want you to initiate. What does that mean? If I initiate every time, does that mean I love you more than you love me? If it does mean that, you made it up. Because that doesn't exist anywhere else but in your mind. That ain't real, right? So anyway, we'll talk about that another time. I hope this was helpful for you guys. And I hope that this will help you have better sex and better marriages. All right? You guys take care, and I'll see you next time. Now, we got any questions? And you know, no, I cannot come sing at your thing, your church. I can't come sing. I can't come open for, your birthday. I only sing in the shower. So I can't help you. All right. Any questions? Any comments? Nope. Nothing. All right. Well, we're going to let it ride because I'm looking at the lights under the door and it looked like them lights done been cut off. I know it's corny. I'm sorry. All right. Y'all have a good one.